greatest city in the world, a center for virtually everything, the thought and culture center for the nation, the financial and communications capital of the world. What better place for a university than this most wonderful, most vibrant city in the world? St. John's, the nation's largest Catholic university and one of this country's important national universities, makes New York its home. Its main location in residential Queens offers students a traditional campus setting on 100 rolling acres within view of the New York skyline. One of the most attractive locations in New York, Grimes Hill is the setting for the university's Staten Island campus, giving the 2,500 students here an idyllic campus atmosphere with the resources of a major urban university. St. John's Place in the heart of the city has over the years helped it attract a distinguished faculty who provide a diversity of studies and experiences. There are some 60 undergraduate majors and 30 on the graduate level. Literally thousands of courses from which to choose. A truly option-oriented curriculum.
And if the normal scope of service of representing somebody in a personal bankruptcy would include court appearance.
A St. John's education doesn't confine itself just to the classroom.
WSJU, St. John's University, New York.
There's a wide array of co-curricular and extracurricular activities. Affordable tuition, generous financial aid, real-world internships, a stunning selection of academic programs, and the pride of being part of one of the most exciting schools in the country, St. John's is the opportunity of a lifetime and an experience one never forgets.
Some of the highlights of my college career here at St. John's have been participating in a study abroad program, College Europa, as well as participating in an internship with New York State Assembly, and they hired me on after completion of this internship. I wouldn't have had as valuable a college experience if I had attended elsewhere.
Experts and leaders often take part in the College of Business programs, one of the finest schools in the country with a national accreditation.
The competitive environment that we're now in, the key to how well we do really depends on how well we use our human capital. And for this audience, it means two things. If you're a student, work hard, because the odds are that someone out there is working harder than you are, and the only thing you can do is work harder to try to catch up with them. The other point, and of course, it may sound self-serving for St. John's, but it's true. Institutions like this one are incredibly important to the future of this country. The future of this country literally hangs on what institutions of this character are capable of doing in terms of educating the young and bringing our social problems under control.
The future of education, the age of high-tech computerization, is paramount at St. John's, as is the tradition of an extensive liberal arts curriculum.
El sentido del olfato, el tacto y la vista. I want to stress this is el gusto. No lo confundan con el verbo gustar.
What do these three men have in common? What they have in common is there were three very great Gothic writers.
I attended St. John's University from 1968 until 1972. I was short 6 credits and am now completing my course of education and graduating at the next commencement exercises. Since I left St. John's, I married, had 2 children, and moved to Bermuda. I've lived there now for the past 15 years. I also started a business and successfully built that business to now owning the largest chain of supermarkets in the country with over 450 employees, several cycle shops, and a real estate division. I've come back to St. John's to finish my degree because I understand the value of education. I've enjoyed my experience at St. John's, and I really value my St. John's University degree.
Is a kind of an offshoot of the Gothic novel, but minus the paraphernalia of ghosts and goblins and clanking chains.
At St. John's, there's always time for a quiet stroll with old friends, or getting acquainted with a new one. East meets West at St. John's at the Institute of Asian Studies, which houses artifacts and relics, a priceless representation of all aspects of China's history and culture.
Composition-wise, sometimes I feel that the cast could have been a little higher on a piece of paper. Here we are at the end, it's not contained, you know.
But even with the present-day programs pointing to the future, the past is not put aside. St. John's art classes apply themselves to the focus of every art class down through the ages, the human figure. The Science Lab, where many careers, including medicine, are born. The College of Pharmacy at St. John's ranks among the finest in the nation. The most important item in any university, the students. They have a voice and take an active role in their affairs at St. John's. Recently, some 50 colleges and universities were represented at a special national satellite press conference hosted by St. John's for Students Against Drunk Driving.
In the end of September, a member of student government, a brother of one of the fraternities on campus, a good friend, and a terrific young person, Jerry Ferrelli, was killed by a drunk driver. Our establishment of a SAD chapter at St. John's University is dedicated to Jerry in the hope that no other St. John's University student, in fact, no other student, will meet the victims of a drunk driving accident. We hope that our work and the work of all the other student organizations involved in SAD will send the message to all students and to all people throughout the United States that drunk driving kills, so don't do it.
Academic excellence and facilities are, of course, vital to a university's reputation. But there are other factors of significance which build national prominence and prestige and lift the spirit of the campus.
For some time, I've been hearing about a university in New York that boasts among its alumni the governors of our two biggest states, Governor Mario Cuomo of New York and Governor George Deukmejian of California. I've heard that this university has the highest bar exam pass rate. More than 1,000 students a year from 88 countries on 6 continents of the earth. And that among its alumni are a third of one state legislature and more than 250 judges. So naturally, I wanted to see the new Harvard. And it's also true but I wanted to see the school that some people are saying is just a number one, top of the heap, king of the hill.
Founded in 1870 by the Vincentian community, St. John's is designed to offer the opportunity of education in a very special atmosphere. The tradition of St. Vincent de Paul of caring for students and of treating them with respect will always thrive at St. John's. The Vincentian Fathers and Brothers have guided St. John since the time of Bishop Laughlin. Starting in the original small wooden building, they moved her to newer and larger structures. The 1920s saw a high-rise facility in downtown Brooklyn. And in the 1950s, ground was broken for the university's present Queens campus.
Oh, lots of good memories here. I was the first entering freshman class on the Queens campus that was going to spend all 4 years here. There was only St. John's Hall, and St. Albert's wasn't even built then. Or Professor Savasco, who's still here, George Savasco, putting us through our paces in freshman English. We didn't know it at the time, but very significant in terms of the long-term success at St. John's. That freshman English class provided the basis for the significant amount of term papers you were going to have to do and original research. Very, very useful. Well, my fondest memory is meeting my wife, who is the class of '66. And I met her here, and we've been married since 1968. And that's my fondest memory and the greatest contribution St. John's made to Nick DeVos.
I'm well aware that as far as true value is concerned, the true value of this collection is that it rests in St. John's, where students at some time may pursue it and find out that a St. John's man, if he follows his alma mater, can make it to the highest office in our state and to serve in the highest legislative body in our nation.
One of the very special days in the life of the university, June 4th, 1989, when an annual commencement was graced by 4 governors and the head of a major political party, all St. John's alumni.
St. John's University educates the whole person. You recall the liberal arts tradition, and you live here with that kind of education that must serve you well in making erudite and ethical decisions.
But, as you've often heard, with our leadership comes responsibility. With your superb St. John's education, you will soon be our leaders, and you will have enormous responsibility. Now, whatever path you choose, please know this, that there is always room for one more good person in every field.
The St. John's class ring that I wear to this day, I don't think I've ever taken it off, and have for 36 years, is a boast, a reminder of hundreds of friends and teachers and students. And it's a reminder as well that whatever success I've enjoyed is due in large measure to this university.
I decided that I was going to run for the chairmanship of the Democratic National Committee. And there were a lot of people around the country who said, the Democratic Party isn't ready for a black chairman. It's the wrong time, sends the wrong message, he's got the wrong ideology, he's got the wrong this, the wrong that. Somebody had to stand up and say, wait a minute. They said, wait a minute. If he's the best qualified, he's got the best experience, he can be the best chairman, he ought to be the chairman. And we ought to forget about irrelevant issues of race, of region, and religion, and ethnicity.
Today's higher education virtually demands the international experience, and St. John's meets this need with its optional College Europa, the definitive study abroad program. Budapest, the capital of Hungary, is its home. Its 3 main universities, its academic base. The Danube River unites the old section of the city with the new, combining the past and the present in historic Budapest. Pleasant and comfortable accommodations make studies much easier.
This step, which in a certain historical period played a positive role, in the long run, in 40 years, had a very negative side effect to kill incentive for higher qualification and higher quality work.
Classes are in English, as culture and lifestyles combine with academic studies.
We are rooted in Eastern Europe. This is our part of the world. We're more popular here in this part of the world than we are anywhere else, more popular here than in Western Europe. So I think that increasing our presence here is a very, very good thing, and I would urge people who are thinking about supporting the St. John's program or sending their children to study here, I would urge them in the strongest terms to consider that in a positive way. I think that you will get your children back wiser, happier, better educated, broader, and in general, I strongly endorse this effort.
One of the unique features of College Europa is its major travel component, which exposes students to some of the most exciting places in Europe. College Europa is truly an important educational option.
We met with the Pope, and I was kind of excited because he blessed me.
Now St. John's prepares for the challenges of tomorrow, the unlimited but still unshaped opportunities of the 21st century. Already St. John's has begun to utilize many new and exciting ways of learning and communicating. The Television Center, rivaling network TV studios, is the most technically advanced college television facility in the nation. Nothing in all collegiate sports is more exciting than when the legendary Redmen take to the court in Alumni Hall. One of the winningest teams in basketball history, they've played in more postseason tournaments than any other team in the country.
St. John's University glows with pride at the accomplishments of one of its most gifted sons in presenting Mark Jackson with the President's Medal.
Where can a St. John's education take you? Anywhere you want to go, to fulfill any dream you have. It might lead you to the top job at the American Museum of Natural History.
You caught me in my favorite hall. This, in the American Museum of Natural History, the Hall of Meteorites, combines my first love, astronomy, with my present one. That's the sciences of nature, the natural sciences themselves. And these meteorites around me are part of both worlds. But I think my favorite halls of all were someplace else. They were at St. John's. I was surprised at the warmth I met there in my advisors, who knew where I was in life and had a fair idea where I wanted to go. And their goal was to help me prepare for it. They guided me very, very well. I learned to speak there, I learned to write there, I learned to think, and I learned to deal with people. And those are, I think, are the attributes that have helped me most throughout my life in science, my life in business, my life as an administrator here at the American Museum of Natural History. There's no way to prepare for life better than to learn how to work with the people you have to share it with. And St. John's did that for me. I'm endlessly grateful for all they've used to formulate the personality that enabled me to meet the challenges that faced me for so many decades thereafter, that I never expected to run into, but which fortunately they gave me the background, the human background, to help me cope with them.
An important university must contribute in a significant way to the good of society. The Reverend Donald J. Harrington, CM, President of St. John's University.
It is my conviction that if we wish to impact positively the world in which we live, we must teach our young people to probe the mysteries of the human person, To shape a society which truly understands and respects the role and the nature of the human person is to lessen the intensity of the problems which confront us today.
The exuberant energy, the vitality, the non-stop excitement that is New York has permeated St. John's with its pace and rhythms. This, the greatest city in the world, the premier cultural center, the business and financial headquarters of the globe, is in effect an extended campus of St. John's. And almost all of the unimaginably vast facilities of New York are resources for the St. John's student. Yes, the city is New York, and the university is St. John's.
A governor, a device attached to a machine to see that it does not operate at maximum efficiency.
The fact is that I've known Mario Cuomo for over 20 years. He taught me at the law school, and I still managed to graduate.
I'm here to be a living example to you in a different way. The governors assembled here were all excellencies in law school as well. They were excellent students by my recollection, memory, and by the record of St. John. I am a living example of the C student and also. Strive to be the best. Conduct yourself with dignity and with honesty. But don't forget in the process to make a little money. Now, money isn't everything, but you're going to find out that it sure keeps the children in touch.